Hi, I'm James, and in today's video I'm taking a look at this, which was sent to me by Kingston Technology, and it is the KC3000 PCI Express 4.0 NVMe M22280 SSD. This particular drive is a 1TB model, which is capable of read speeds of up to 7,000 megabytes per second and write speeds of up to 6,000 megabytes a second. This particular SSD uses the Phison E18 controller, which provides PCIe 4.0 support, which gives us those speeds with a suitable PCIe 4.0 compatible system. This drive sits just below the Renegade Fury in the Kingston range, and I'd say is a comparable product to the Samsung 980 Pro, coming in similar cost, slightly higher performance in some capacity models, and with that 5-year warranty as well. Kingston shipped the KC3000 in very similar packaging to the rest of their range. Here we have one of the budget A400 drives, which is a SATA M2 drive. We see they come in the same kind of packaging that you would expect to be able to hang in a store shelf. Not my favourite packaging type, as it does mean it is destructive getting into it, and best done with a pair of scissors. For customer systems, I like to be able to return the drive to its original box. In fact, even that point there isn't cutting low enough down. But, you know, an SSD, you're really going to fit it and then not worry too much about it. And we're into the drive. Taking a closer look at the drive itself, obviously this is a pretty standard M2 2280 stick. The 1TB model is single-sided, meaning there are no DRAM modules or flash modules on the back of the device. The 2TB and 4TB versions, however, are double-sided. So if looking to install those in a laptop, make sure there is sufficient clearance to install a double-sided device in it. Otherwise, we have this very thin aluminium heat spreader on the top. If you're looking to use this in a PlayStation 5, I believe that Kingston promote the Renegade Fury model as their PlayStation 5 compatible model. Reports suggest that the KC3000 should work, however you might want to install a larger heatsink when doing so. So since this is the first PCIe 4.0 SSD that I've looked at, I thought a really interesting thing to do would actually be to compare this to a budget PCIe 3.0 drive to see what kind of gains you're getting from spending the extra money and going with a high-end PCIe 4.0 SSD as opposed to a more basic cost-conscious option. So I'm going to drop this into my trusty M2 USB caddy, and we're going to clone over my gaming system with Windows and its game titles onto the drive and see how it compares. Our test system today is this Ryzen 7 3700X system with X570 ASRock board. This has PCI Express 4.0 support in both the processor and mainboard, allowing us to really exploit the speed of this Kingston SSD. And currently you can see we have a Crucial P1 drive, so that is what we are going to be cloning from and then comparing performance with. Cloning across the contents of the drive was done with Acronis Cyber Protect Home and Office. This is the tool that I typically use for drive cloning and was done to bring across all the utilities and games that were already installed onto the drive so that we were testing with a more used system rather than a completely clean and pristine Windows image. With this complete, our first test then was to boot the system into Windows 10 and the Steam Big Picture mode. And this did give a small benefit to the Kingston KC3000 drive, coming in around about a second quicker than the Crucial P1. This is only a small difference, and we did allow it to go all the way into the Steam Big Picture, so it is loading some other tools in the background like Discord and other applications, which is a bit more like what you would expect from a system in general use rather than one that has been fresh installed. With everything up and running, we then use the CrystalDiskMark synthetic test to run a speed test on both SSDs. And here we can see that the Kingston actually exceeds the specs that Kingston gave us with 7,386 megabytes per second read and 6.1 gigabytes per second write speeds. So actually matching what they quote for the Renegade Fury models. That isn't a huge surprise as they both have the same controllers, but it is interesting to see them exceeding their own specifications. One thing I did notice during this test is it is very important to connect the drive to the first M2 slot on this board. The second slot is connected to the X570 chipset rather than directly to the processor. And while this is a PCI Express 4.0 port, because the link to the processor from the chipset is only PCI Express 4.0 4 times, you actually bottleneck the SSD's performance, and using this second port would limit you to around 6.4 gigabytes per second. Moving on to the first of our gaming tests, and the Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers benchmark tool not only tests the 3D performance of the title, but also has a metric for the loading times for all of the sections combined. And with this, we do see the Kingston again taking a small lead. We're around about a second and a half quicker over all the loading segments. But that does lead to, over a sort of 10-15% performance improvement between the two. Because the loading times are fairly short, it's not a huge difference in terms of actual waiting time, but it is nevertheless a measurable difference. Our second loading test for games is one of my favourite titles at the moment, Forza Horizon 5, and in this we are going from pressing the start button on the main menu to the first menu in the game, and we actually see with this test the Crucial P1 draws a very, very slight advantage. I did run this test multiple times, and while the recorded version was about 0.3 seconds quicker on the P1, overall there was a bit of variance and they basically worked out the same. It was just on the recording that this test was very, very marginally quicker on the P1. So with these testing results in mind, do I believe a drive like the KC3000 is worth buying? Obviously there is a significant cost premium versus the PCI Express 3.0 QLC type drives. This comes in at around the £160 mark, whereas something like a Crucial P2 or similar Kingston drives can be picked up in the £60 to £80 range for a terabyte drive, depending on the offers available at the time. If you are doing significant file transfer operations, particularly between multiple PCI Express 4.0 drives, you are going to see a big benefit in those kinds of operations. But if you're looking purely at start time, application loading time, game loading time, at the moment there aren't huge benefits to be had. Where that will change is in the future when we are looking towards titles with DirectStorage support. This is something which the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X particularly are already benefiting from, but DirectStorage is not something that is currently in use on the Windows 10 and 11 platforms, but we should see games supporting that coming in the near future, maybe the latter part of this year or early 2023. So for me, what that means, if I was building a system now, it's going to be budget dependent. If I have the money there to, splash out on a good PCI Express 4.0 SSD, then I would certainly be doing so. But if I'm more working to a budget and it means compromising the processor or graphics card at this stage, then that money might be better spent on the other components now, but with an eye to upgrading in the future. So I hope you found this video interesting. Do let me know in the comments below if you have any questions or what you would do when you're specifying your system. If you found it helpful, hit like, and to see more videos like this in the future, please hit the subscribe button. Once again, thanks to Kingston for providing this sample, and do check out their website for more information as well. Thanks for watching.